Good morning. Today is a slightly special episode because we are not hunting for the best foods that we can find. Rather, I'm bringing you to my childhood hawker center. We're at Whampoa Food Market where I've been having certain stalls since I was a kid for many years. Okay, I'll come clean. I don't know how long Whampoa Market has been around for, but definitely since I was a kid, so I guess it's definitely more than 30 years, let's put it that way. And it's attached to a wet market as well, where they sell all sorts of miscellaneous stuff, some fish, some poultry, and vegetables. Today we're going to visit a couple of stalls that are always frequent whenever I'm in Whampoa Food Market. And then we'll try out another stall that is very popular, but I have not visited before. So let's start with stall number 1, which is Bak Chor Mee, my favorite noodles. Alright, right behind me, our first breakfast stall called Feng and this busy stall is run by, I believe, the father and son though. They are both cooking. I always order mee pok here and I order dry version. So to me, that is my childhood memory of what Bak Chor Mee is like. But it's not exactly Bak Chor Mee per se because it comes with a mixture of a lot of things. You've got fish cake, you've got fish balls and all that stuff. It's not the Bak Chor Mee that you've seen in episode 1. This is what my childhood so-called Bak Chor Mee looks like lah. It comes with an array of different stuff. You're going to be put like underneath, coated with a little bit of that chili, the sambal, pork slices up top, a sprinkle of spring onions and fried shallots. And then you've got the fish cake, fish ball, the meatball, and on the side there's pork lard. And it's also served with soup, and in the soup there's wanton. I'm gonna toss it up because I want it to be uniform in flavors. The noodles come up rather quickly. It's only been like a couple of minutes. I guess it's quite dry. Okay, let's go. The taste of childhood is a very simple flavor, salty, savory, and spicy. Okay, let me explain this to you guys. This is a very traditional, simple flavor, probably made with fresh ingredients that are not top-notch. And the noodles have a very slight alkaline taste, but it forms part of their memory of childhood. The sambal is fiery enough, so it's got a nice spiciness that sort of gives you a little bit of that tingling in your mouth. I miss this, man. I miss this so much. Okay, since we have had Tiao in episode 1, let me just do a direct comparison of Tiao. I think it makes it easier to explain. The noodles are definitely right, they are bouncy, they are snappy, but the quality of the noodles is definitely not as good as Tiao. Tiao is a really refined version, the noodles are slurpy, really good quality. This is like the normal type that you get from hawker center, but it's done right. It's cooked well, and they cook just enough sambal for it to have that flavor. Again, I need to re-emphasize very simple flavors, but it really reminds me of my childhood. And this is the thing about food. The beauty of food is, you know, I believe food is all related, like linked to your memories. So that's why we always have like a favorite store that we go to. It doesn't matter whether it's the best. The key point is it reminds you of something. Like in this case, it reminds me of my days coming and visiting Singapore, visiting my relatives every year. And every time I'm here, I eat their Bak Chor Mee. Simple fish ball, salty, bouncy, light. Very typical wonton. Nice meaty feeling, moderately thick skin. The broth is very light base, a little bit of sweetness. It's a very simple broth. But man, I miss this feeling. This is great. Alright, let's move on to the next stall. This is the curry rice stall that I've been having since my childhood. It's a very unique type of curry rice. It's not exactly the curry rice that you know, like the one from Tiao and all that. They douse it with this very special combination, this mixture of like a curry sauce, but I'm sure it's not a curry sauce because it's more sweet based. They actually sell a lot of stuff. but we're just going to go with the basic one, which is char siu together with some vegetables and just the rice. Okay, I'm super excited. This is the favorite childhood dish of mine in Whampoa Food Market. Curry rice. And look at all the sauces they are doused on this plate of rice. I have a very interesting way, I would say, to eat this, is that when they serve it up to you, it's hot, right? But I don't like to eat it hot, because when it's hot, the flavors don't present themselves perfectly. So I like to let it cool off actually. This is the red char siu, it's lean meat, and this is the plate of braised cabbages with some wood ear. And what I like to do, even though they give you in separate plates, is pour all of them onto the rice. So let us proceed by pouring all that char siu onto the rice. Let it all go down. Leave some of that sauce in case it gets too saucy. And then the cabbage goes on. Oh, glorious. Oh, nice. Now you have got the true form of the curry rice. It's just flooding with all these sauces, the mixture of the sauce from the cabbage, the sauce from the red char siu. Okay, I'm gonna dive in. Oh, man, I'm such a sucker for simple flavors. Soft, tender cabbage. It's got a nice vegetable flavor mixed in. It's creamy, contrasted by the sweetness from the lean char siu, which is not exactly that lean. It's got a nice tenderness, maybe a little bit of fat in there. And the char siu sauce is gravy-like. It's sweet, salty, savory. I miss this flavor. I've not had it for 2 years. This is my favorite food in Singapore, this particular stall. Now, objectively it's not a great dish. It's not spicy at all. They call it curry rice, that's why it's called curry pang. But it's not curry rice if you look at it. This is Whampoa's unique style of curry rice. If I were to give it a term, it's called sweet and savory rice. And the rice is not the best quality rice, you can immediately tell. It's a little bit more broken up, but it serves its function perfectly well on this plate. It's a vehicle to carry out that sauce. Let the sauce flood it, put every single grain. And it does just right on this dish. Fantastic job. I love it. And this is why I think food is beautiful. You really don't have to care whether it's the best dish in the world. You just need to love it. Alright, next stall. Alright guys, done with the curry rice. We are moving away from this food court to the food court opposite. It is also part of the Whampoa Food Market, and we're going to have some very famous rojak. It's called Hoover Rojak. I personally not tried this stall because I'm not a person who normally eats fruit rojak lah, but quite loves fruit rojak, so we're going to try this spot out. Alright, we are right in front of the famous Hoover Rojak. And a funny thing happened, when we arrived we thought that there was not much of a queue because you only see like a few people in the front standing, but see these pretty ladies over here, they are actually part of the queue, but because the wait is so long, they decided to sit down and wait for their turn. Anyway, let's quickly get in line and order our rojak before it sells out, because I think it sells out really quickly. Alright guys, after a relatively long wait, we finally got our rojak. And I gotta say, as I was filming the boss doing up this plate of rojak, the peanut fragrance is insane.
And this is the fruit rojak.
A mix of fruits laden with egg, or it's like a prawn paste together with lots and lots of fragrant peanuts. And I noticed the boss does something special here. He dropped in slices of kantan, torch ginger flower. So I guess it's sort of like a cheat code to be honest, because torch ginger flower is so herbaceous. This is gonna be awesome, so let's go, man. Oh, okay, very interesting. First of all, you taste all the ingredients, flavors. Because the sauce is not very thick.
The fruit is fresh and juicy. Maybe let me get more sauce to taste it. The sauce is different. There's a sourness, the Heng. I think it's from calamansi, is it?
Yeah, actually I noticed he sliced some calamansi in. in the very beginning. It's not a very thick, strong sauce, but it's robust enough, and you can definitely taste the prawn flavor, the Heng flavor, and there's even kantan flavor. The first one actually I got a kantan flavor. Yeah, it's actually pretty well balanced, and the peanut is crunchy, it's fragrant as well. Let's try some with the fried dough. Fried dough is not exactly crispy. I don't really taste the fried fragrance. It's mainly still the juicy fruits with the undertone of the Heng flavor lah.
Mainly is the peanut crunch, the chunk of the peanut.
But the fragrance is not exactly very strong now. To me personally, it felt a little bit muted overall. Not the most
Fragrant.
Yeah, in my personal view, when you're eating rojak, aside from the fresh ingredients which this store definitely has, you also need all the ingredients to be super fragrant, the sauce to be robust, and all that. I think the hako needs to be a lot richer. It feels a little bit muted, especially because the boss has shown you so many rather fragrant ingredients. So you really need a very strong base hako to be able to rein these flavors in so that they don't snatch the throne of the flavor of the rojak, which is hako. Yeah, but nevertheless, still a very decent rojak. Very fresh ingredients. Right guys, we're gonna finish this up and then we'll head in for plating time. Alright guys, well we are finished up this rojak. Let's start our plating time segment. Let's start with the before first, the Bak Chor Mee stall. Very old school flavor. I think a lot of Singaporeans know the old school flavor of Bak Chor Mee lah. Simple ingredients, simple noodles, but I think the flavor balance is done really quite well. In fact, it does have a similarity in terms of taste profile to Dawa. Yeah, it's like if Dawa is the 4K version, this is like maybe the 720p version.
Yeah,
it's a simple version of Dawa, and ultimately I really liked it. The ingredients are fresh, but they could have been better. However, because the price point is $3.50, it cannot be better due to the price point. There's this dilemma that I face with this stall. And also, it doesn't have the vinegar flavor. I don't know if they added any, but I didn't taste any. Ultimately, it's a very good neighborhood style Bak Chor Mee. Everything is done quite well. And with that being said, this spot scores an okay on the gourmet plate, which means it's some good quality Bak Chor Mee right there. If you're in the Wampoo area, this is I think one of the stores that you should try lah. It's pretty good. Now, off to the curry rice, my favorite stall. Personal preference aside, very direct, very simple flavors, but done very well. Very heartwarming kind of flavor. And when you let it cool off and you eat it at room temperature, I think that is where it stands out the most. The flavor of the lean char siu sauce, that nice, savory, sweet and meaty flavor has been infused into that sauce. The cabbage has that vegetable savory flavor with a little bit of that sourness, and when everything comes together on this plate of rice, it just reminds me of when I was a kid. Quality is obviously not the best, but it is also not an expensive plate of curry rice, relatively cheap. So with that being said, this spot scores an honorable mention on the gourmet plate, which means it is a decent plate of, I guess, gravy rice. It's definitely worth a try if you're nearby. If you're in Whampoa area, actually I strongly recommend you try it. It's completely different. You might like it, you might not like it. It's a very personal dish. Now, Balestier Road Hoover Rojak.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very fresh ingredient.
Very unique with the use of bunga kantan, calamansi. We have not had this even in other Singapore Rojak stalls.
But I would say the prawn paste has been overshadowed by other ingredients like the fruits and the peanuts.
Yeah, I think maybe because the boss used too many of these interesting flavors, it distracts you really, and you tend to taste the prawn paste a lot later, and it's not as robust. Yeah, in that sense. Some people who don't like that much the Heng flavor will actually love this very much. And I think it's still probably one of the best rojak we have tried to date, inclusive of the Malaysian ones. Although we would prefer it to have more Heng flavor. Yeah.
So with that being said, Hoover Rojak score okay in the gourmet plate.
Which means it is some good quality rojak right there. Again, absolutely recommended if you're in Whampoa area. You're gonna buy it and try it out. Just know that it's a pretty long queue. The boss actually takes time to whip out every single plate. So I guess that is it for our final episode in Singapore for now. I hope you enjoyed this food vlog. If you did, do consider giving us a thumbs up. If you're yet to subscribe, do consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell button.
Bye bye.
Till we meet again next episode in another country.
Bye bye.